Hello there, this is Joanna Pilatovic from Germany, still from Germany. I would love to introduce to you someone today from Mexico. She is first of all, author of 4 published books already and retired teacher. Welcome to the show, Ellen Buikema. Do I say it right?
You do. That was perfect. Thank you so much for having me, Joanna. We are currently living in Mazatlan in Sinaloa, Mexico. We're traveling through. Originally, we're from the United States, but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for the interview.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Mexico sounds very nice to me. I am very curious. I saw already a few pictures about it. But today we're going to talk about serious topics of writing books, publishing books, and everything what goes with it. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. So, your first book, I would like to introduce your first book to people who are hearing us for the first time. And also, this topic may be interesting for more of my viewers. Can you tell me what your first book was about?
Oh, of course. The first book is Parenting, a Work in Progress. And as you see, I do not have a copy of it here with me, as I should.
No, you're not promoting it well.
It was a labor of love. Any book that you write is your baby, and that's one of the things that's difficult when you bring a chapter to a critique group, because you're bringing it out to the world for the first time, and that's always hard because you don't want anyone to criticize your child.
No.
No, but Parenting a Work in Progress, I wrote because many of the parents that I worked with as a teacher were having difficulties understanding why their children did the things that they did. And if you understand someone, you're going to be a lot more patient, and it makes an enormous difference in the relationship that you have with your children. So I compiled information from my own childhood, my own children. I asked them first, is it okay if I mention these things? Yeah, mom, it's all right. So we took that and various other people that I interviewed and put it all together and divided it up in sections and sent it out. I was thinking about it this morning, actually. Um, when you have your book printed, be really careful what you have on the cover. One of the things that I did is I had a, a noted psychologist, John Toma in Phoenix, read through it all for me to make sure that everything was correct. I wanted to be absolutely positive that I was giving the right information because it's important, to get it all. And he did a fabulous job, and he wrote a blurb on the back of the book for me, and I got it all done, and I sent it out, and everything looked perfect. And I there was a book launch, and I gave him a copy of it, and I thanked him so much. And he didn't say anything to me, but there was an autocorrect that happened that I missed. So the name of which should have been Biltmore came out Baltimore. So he was a little unhappy about that, and I wish he'd mentioned it to me right away because I didn't notice right away. Wasn't a problem. It went through correctly, but for some reason for the print book it did not. So be really careful and check. So it's all fixed, all is well, but it was really embarrassing. So
yeah, that's a tip for authors. About tips for parents, I think we're gonna direct everyone who is interested in that particular subject because that's not the subject for today about parenting. What's the name of the title of the book?
It's called Parenting, a Work in Progress.
Exactly.
I chose that particular title because that's exactly what it is. And actually, we are all works in progress. We are all pieces of art. So that's how I look at us.
Yeah. now I would like to ask you about the creative process, because every author has a special need for writing things they are writing. So we know already what inspired you as a teacher to write this first book, but you didn't stop right there. You started to actually publish a lot of books, and you're still writing new to publish. And I already learned a little bit about you, very precise about what you're writing, how you're going to go about it. You have a lot of support from different professionals. So I would like you to share how this process, creative process for you, and going writing first before even going to publishing.
Okay. Some of that was a little bit difficult to understand. There might be a little bit of a glitch, but
Okay, I cut off probably on your side.
uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
But you want to know why it is I decided to write that particular book?
You addressed that already. I wanted to ask how is your creative process? Because it's pretty obvious that you, I hope you still hear me because we have a little bit, cutting off today. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
how that happened, that you kept writing other books as a teacher. You started with parents, it inspired you, but then what inspires you to write all these books? Because they are not only about that particular subject. I know they are different novels, different stories
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much everything that I have written has something to do with something that has occurred to me in my life or to people that are close to me. So we take what we have, what's nearby, and go from there. The Before I wrote the parenting book, I had actually started to write the beginnings of a series of children's books, The Adventures of Charlie Chameleon, and those were written to help children ease into different situations that they would have in school. And I paid attention to the children and the reactions that they had to different things that occurred to them inside and outside of class, and with the discussions that we have with parents, picked out what looked like it would be most useful for
Mhm.
the kids and for the parents as well, because I deliberately made the books a little bit funny for the adults so they would enjoy reading, because you don't want to read something that isn't any fun. So,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
So it just took that all into account and went from there. I experienced some bullying in school. I was lucky it was not really bad. Some people had it a lot worse than I did. And I recognize that it is an enormous problem. So that's one of the things that I included in the Charlie Chameleon books. I chose a bunny rabbit because I thought that would be funnier than heck to have a bunny rabbit as a bully. But it's kind of all woven in, and we learn eventually through the series, why that is. Because a person isn't born that way; it's something that happens. So, and how do you deal with it?
Mm-hmm. It's it's interesting. I know we're supposed to focus on your process as an author and get into publishing, but now when you mention those topics about children, parenting, what can happen within those processes, they are so interesting. I actually will ask you another question if you don't mind. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
because every author draws from personal experiences and from what's happening around. And that was a big, huge portion of your life. This is amazing to put that in a story in order to help those children and those parents to deal, especially with such subject as bullying. Um, how do you think your stories can put to help those people? Because I probably have stories how that these books, stories help others.
Joanna,
Yeah.
we're going to have to stop the recording. I'm really sorry. You're going in and out so often. I'm not
You cannot
hearing.
hear me.
Yeah, you keep going in and out.
Okay.
So I don't know, because you're not gonna take things out at it, right? It's gonna just be all the way through.
Yes, it's gonna go all the way through. We are still recording this.
Mm-hmm.
On my side, because this is gonna record on my side as I am speaking, as I'm hearing. I don't have any interruption, but you cannot hear my voice. It happened one time with someone.
Every once in a while, it's really hard to hear, and I have the volume up pretty high.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to start from now, or if you just want to. I don't know what you can do.
Okay. I cannot do much because I'm not a really, so to everyone, I'm not really good technician
Mhm.
with all these things. So I would continue. And I will repeat the question. I will make them shorter, and I will let you more talk.
Okay, hang on.
I'm
I
still.
really wish I could have heard a little bit better. So sorry. Okay.
That's not a problem. Um, can you hear me now? Can you say about this creative process, how you helped your stories helped those bullied children?
I cannot say for a fact exactly how they have helped, but I do know from the parents that I've spoken with and the children that I've spoken with that have read the books that they enjoyed it. I don't know that they've used it, but they have enjoyed it and have come back to read it again. I've
That's already
found
big.
that the children that took it out of the libraries the most often were the ones that met me at an event. I would give an author talk at a school, either Skype or in person, and the children that met me or were in the class that I attended, and talked to them for a little bit, and brought in Sock Puppet Tim, which I don't have with me right now. Um, they enjoyed it and wanted to come back for more. So at
Mm-hmm.
least they're being read, and it's impossible to know what they're going to do with that information.
Right. Mm-hmm. I want you to stop me anytime you don't hear me or it's cutting off, and I will repeat the
Okay.
question, of course.
Okay.
Um, for this creative process, because it's not easy to just see the problem that the children are bullied or something is happening or any other issues. How you started to be so creative that.
We're cutting out.
Mhm.
We're
What was
cutting out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine.
Sure. What was your creative process of creating a story instead of just maybe managing those issues at school? You started to write. How that happened? What inspired you mostly to write?
Okay, this is going to sound very strange because the story just kind of comes to you. I know that there are some people that do channeling and things like that, and in a way, it almost feels just like that. You sit and I relax. I have to relax, otherwise it's just not going to work. So I sit and I relax and I think of a situation, and then it just comes to me and I just kind of type it out. And what was kind of funny actually is my husband would be working in another part of the house as he was working at home at the time, and I would be sitting in the living room, just typing away and laughing as I'm going, because whatever it was funny, and he'd pass me by, give me a weird look like, well, what's going on with you? But a lot of times things will just come. In the book that I'm writing right now, The
Mm-hmm.
Hobo Code, which is a young adult historical fiction, um, I had a character want a name change, and I know that sounds really odd. And I was a little concerned for a while, but I talked to other authors, and they say, no, that's normal. It's normal for your characters to talk to you. So we're
Yeah.
all odd. The writers are all a little odd. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a saying that we have to be a little bit insane in order to do the job we're doing. Is that so?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
Sort
But
of.
most of the writers that I have met have been really a lot of fun and wonderful people, and I've been
Yeah.
appreciative of their suggestions. Whenever anyone does any writing, I would suggest using a critique group. It makes all the difference in the world. I used 2 different ones when we were still in the Phoenix area, and it really sharpened my writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult. I find it, and other people have told me the same, to be reading what you have and other people are listening to it, and then they give you comments and you can't say anything, and you find yourself wanting to defend what you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting process, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But
It can be
critique groups, I think, are
challenging.
really important. Very challenging, yeah.
Yeah, because you are putting it out there, and they sort of, it's not yet published, so they will criticize. But hopefully they give a constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism is the best.
Yeah, hopefully it's happening like that. I hope you still hear me. I have a question that is, it's going to be interesting for many authors out there. What are the frustrating experiences coming to uh, connected with a writing book and publishing? The biggest obstacles
Oh,
and
okay.
assessments.
I can go over part of that to the best of my ability at this point. I had written the book. I thought, okay, cool. Now what? And I had a friend who had a small publishing company. I thought, oh, she'll help me with this. She could do this for me. I can pay her, and it'll all be great. And she says, no, no, no. I'm gonna show you the things that you need to do to have your own publishing company, and then you can do it yourself. And it was like, but what? No, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any background in publishing. I have no background in designing anything. So after I calmed down, I learned that putting a book together is very much like building a house. So you, as the writer of the story, are the general contractor, and you hire out other people to help you. You cannot write a book on your own. It just does not happen. You're getting input from other people as you're writing, or you should. Um, Otherwise, it's like, I don't know, going in front of a jury and trying to defend yourself.
Yeah.
It's just not a good idea. Not a good idea. So you have your book, and you think it's great, but then you realize, oh my gosh, I have to format this. How am I going to format it? And it's different formatting it in an ebook than it is for a physical book. And now we have audiobooks, and oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I joined, or I had already at this point, I had joined an author's marketing group, and there were people within the marketing group that had talents in different areas. So some people I paid for help, some people, especially when it came to the website, because I didn't know what I was doing with that either. But it's important to have a website if you're going to be an author. Not for the particular books I wouldn't suggest, but just to have. Mine is ellenbuikema.com. So it just make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So you trade gifts for that. I like the barter system if I can. That's what I try to do. So there's that. Let me see. What can I tell you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for.
I like the trading system too, and sharing. This is very important to tell people what it really takes. That's why I wanted specifically that you share that experience, how it went, because you open up your publishing company too. You have that experience. How was that for you?
Okay, what I discovered was that I had to choose a name.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how do I do that? So I came up with 10 names that I thought might be suitable. And I don't know why, but almost all of them were American Indian sounding names. I guess that's what I preferred. I didn't know. And I Googled them all, put them all into the search. And out of the 10 I chose, 6 were already chosen. I'm like, okay, well, I can't use those. I looked at the 4
Yeah.
last, picked 2 that I thought were good, talked to a bunch of other people, and settled on the one that I chose, which it was Running Horse Press. So that's what I used. So then I had a name. Then I had to go to the state of Arizona, where we were living at the time, and register the name with the state, and go from there. So it's little tiny baby steps, but you don't do it on your own. You talk to other people and you piece it together. You don't want to design your own cover. At least most people should not design their own covers. I should never design my own cover. So I found someone who would do it for me, and we kind of went back and forth and figured out what was the best thing to do. In this case, it was a money transfer as opposed to barter. And so we had a good cover, and a lot of people took pity on me because I first book, don't know what the heck I'm doing, and but it all worked out well.
So what it takes to have your own company, you just have to have a name, you have to register it, and then you can put that name into your book as you are a publisher. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I also came up with a logo, so I drew the logo and included that in. So I have a little simple line drawing, and that worked out well.
Is there any trick, any obstacle that people are supposed to know? What are the difficulties and challenges of opening own publishing company?
Opening it is relatively simple. It's you want to make sure that you keep track of everything. So I don't know if you want to use a program for that. Some people do. There's Microsoft products out there that are free that you can use to keep track of your expenses, and especially if you decide to go find an agent, you don't want to send something to them more than once unless they say after 6 months you can try again, because some of them are that way. So you have your list of people that you have sent queries to, and then rejections, because you're going to get lots and lots and lots of those. And
you talked already about applying to agents. I'm gonna ask about that. Actually, you already talked about it, but I don't know if you hear me. I was mentioning, like, is there any problem with opening your own publishing company? Because basically, you can put that in your book that you have a company, right?
Is there any problem putting it in? I'm not sure what you're asking.
What are the challenges of having your own publishing company? Is there any? Is that so simple as you said? It sounds simple.
Opening a bank account and making sure you have your name. If you are going to sell your own books, because that's one of the things that you can do when you're having books printed out. You can go to Amazon. At the time, it used to be Create Space, and now it's KDP Print. But there are other routes you can go, including going to a local printer and have them print the books for you. If you find one that's reputable, that has good quality, then you'll have your own that you can sell on your own.
So there are benefits of having your publishing company registered.
There are, yeah.
There are no problems with it, because it's important to tell everyone who's hearing us and have this idea. They have to be careful about something. Do they have to pay attention to any challenges? What can go wrong? Any tips?
Anything can go wrong. Anything can go wrong. When you're dealing with electronics, as we know, anything can go wrong at any time.
Right.
You want to make sure that you read over everything very carefully, have other people read over the material as well, because the printer is going to print whatever you send. You have to make sure it's the a kind of file that they can actually use. I went through, that's one of the problems that I encountered. I was sending the wrong file and I didn't realize I was sending the wrong kind of file. And then I called them and talked to them for a while, found out I did it wrong. I didn't have access to the kind of file that they wanted. It needed to be, I can't remember the word just offhand, but it had to go from one kind to a next to another. And I didn't have that capability. So I'm on the phone calling different people. How do I do this? Can you help me with this? What am I doing wrong? And then I finally found out it was actually a very simple process, but I did not have the software to do it. I found someone
Yes.
that did, and they said, just buy me a cup of coffee and we're good. I'm like, okay.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So then I sent it and all was well, but I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I was doing wrong. So
Yeah,
you cannot be horribly shy. I mean, if you are a very introverted person, you have to find a way outside of yourself. You have to
mhm,
go ahead and make those phone calls. Um,
right.
for the book that I'm working on currently, I had to call all over the country talking to people in different areas because I was not able to visit certain places. I didn't have the time or funds to do it.
Hmm.
So you have to call and get as much information as possible to and get pictures. Some people were really lovely. They took pictures for me and sent them back, and I was
Nice.
very fortunate. Yeah, but you gotta get out of yourself to do it.
Mm-hmm. It is, so there are some challenges, but from what you're saying, it seems like this is a really good idea to open up your own publishing company.
I would say so. It's not a difficult thing to do. It's just very time consuming.
Is it? What is the most time consuming in doing in having your publishing company?
I would think the biggest part of it is the marketing. That takes a lot of time. And you find that you're spending a lot more time in getting the word out than you are doing the actual writing.
Then is it necessary for author to even go that line? And because if you are publishing by yourself, you also
Hmm.
have to do a lot of marketing. That's also very time consuming. So what actually, because there was some tip that the authors that publish themselves, they should have a company. And what do you recommend? What is better?
What is better to do for
For the publishing, if you self-publish your
uh,
book, you always have to do marketing. You always have to promote it. So do you really need a company? Do you really need that?
you don't, as far as I know, you don't have to have a company to do this. You can, well, actually what I did is called a doing business as. So I have a business, it is Running Horse Press, but it is also me. So when it comes time for taxes, it's not a separate entity, it's part of me. I had to keep the funds separate. So Running Horse Press had its own credit card, it has its own bank account, but it
Mhm.
is still doing business as, so it was still part of me. Some people have incorporate, and that's not a route that I went.
Okay, that's important. That's a very good information. Um, People can do that, but it's not necessary. That's important to know. And
Hmm.
secondly, it's also the way you do it, because you probably put yourself in some sort of a troubles later on with a tax, with the declaration, with how you proceed, and you have a lot of paperwork.
You need to be very careful and make sure that you keep everything separate.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope
Your
that
personal
answered
stuff from
some of the question about is it even necessary to open up the company in order to publish book by yourself? Let us switch a little bit uh,
Mm-hmm.
to publishing. How is the best way to publish your own book? There are, we know there are self-publishing, you can go to agent, you can find a traditional publisher by yourself. How it was in your case, and what do you recommend?
Boy, you do not ask easy questions.
I
Um,
know.
there, there are different options, and it depends upon what your goal is. So if your goal is just to write a book for the family, you don't need to go through any of this. You can find someone to format properly. If you're not worried about it being, out in the public, you can do your own cover or have someone help you with the cover if you know a cover designer. Um, you can go to the art school and find people to help you with that. So that's something to consider as well. It'll be less expensive, because the artwork, it will it will cost you. Many artists that I've run into would prefer to have their money up front,
Yeah.
as opposed to taking a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, in my children's books at this point, the illustrator has made more money on the books than I have. So,
Ouch. Ouch.
so
That's too much.
this is not something that you do because you want to make a lot of money. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that you do because you have a love of the topic, or you feel you have something to contribute, that might be useful to somebody else. But it's not a big money making enterprise for most of us. For
Mm-hmm.
some, but not for all.
Mm-hmm. Some people had already questions because they publish because they want to make money on their books.
Hmm.
With that goal, how the best is go about it?
From the people that I have spoken with, self-publishing will do you better.
Hmm,
And yeah, as far as, oh, sorry for the sound.
that's all
We're
right.
it is what it is. But self-publishing will be better for you, as if you wanted to make money on your books, than traditional publishing. And actually, you used to be able to get, a sizable advance, but that does not happen very much anymore for traditional publishing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
So
even
it
in
was time changed.
Yes, everything is changing, and self-publishing is not a difficult thing to do. It doesn't take very long to do. It's just a matter of making sure that you keep the books separate. You don't want to intermingle funds, otherwise there could be problems, tax-wise, down the road.
Can you tell more about that? What do you mean? There could be tax problems on the way when you self-publish.
Oh, you want to make sure that if you are doing business as, like I did, that you have like a separate form. And I don't know, things are probably different in different countries. I'm not quite sure how it works
Yes.
elsewhere, but you want to make sure that you don't intermingle funds, and that what you spent for sending things to someone, your mail costs, um, how much you paid for the books that you sent out personally, or you just want to keep track of the money that you spent on your illustrator, your editor, or your editors, if you use more than one.
That's
Just
as a company. You're talking from the perspective of the company, right? Um, what about author that they do not open their company? Let's say somebody wants to publish on Amazon, which is the biggest market, and uh,
mm-hmm.
living in different countries, whether it's Mexico, whether it's like me in Germany, or England, and there is a one big Amazon all over the world, and
uh,
the taxes are working then.
Amazon or whomever sold books for you, will send you, I believe it's called the 1099 form. I don't know what it's called in other countries, but they keep track of all of your sales, and then they send you something for taxes, and then you just include that as part of your taxes.
Even if you are paying taxes in another country?
I can only speak from what I have, and I have not sold very many in other countries. Almost everything has been from the U.S.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting with the information for how to organize that, because that decisions probably will influence authors how they are doing it from the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
then the whole thing with the promotion. So there is another topic about publishing with an agent. We know that that can actually bring you more money if you manage to find one. So perhaps you would like to say something more about that, the process.
Okay, I can tell you just a little bit on that topic. I do not have an agent at this point. I will be looking for one for the Hobo Code, as I think that it has promise. So that's the direction I would like to head. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I I went to a conference, and conferences are good things to go to. It's a really important for the aspiring author writer to go to conferences to meet other people. It's important to network. Um, I went to a conference, and this was in the Phoenix area, and one of the people that was there was an agent that I had sent a query to some time ago for a different book, and she turned me down, but that was okay. You got to expect that that's going to happen more often than not, and it's not something that's going to happen in a month. It's going to take a lot of time. I know one couple that they write together as a team, and it took them 2 years to find an agent. They just kept at it, kept at it, kept at it, and then they finally did. So it's not something that's going to happen right away ever.
Yeah, 2 years sounds still pretty good.
so
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 I know
at this
people with
conference,
longer time and they cannot still find an agent. So yeah.
don't give up. Just keep trying. Change your query. Go to queryshark.com. They have samples.
Yeah, that's a
So
good one. I
that's
also use that one.
yeah. So that's a good one. But back to the conference. So I see her there, and it was before her talk. I was trying to talk to her earlier, and I didn't want to bother her because she's all these people are just going, and please help me, and I didn't want to do that to her. So I waited, and she was not terribly busy, and I just said, I would like to thank you. And she looked shocked, and she said, really, what for? So she came down. She was on the stage. She came down, and I said, well, I had sent a query to you and you turned me down, but I appreciated what you had to say. You gave me encouragement to keep going, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
Mhm.
Big handshake. It's so nice to meet you. And she says, it's really hard to turn people down, because you want to love their book, you want to love their characters, but if you don't absolutely love them, you are not going to be able to do anything with it. You may have the best book in the world, but you
Yeah,
need to have a good match. Otherwise, it's not gonna work out. But I just wanted to mention that, agents are people. They're
yeah,
human beings, and they get a lot of information. And for me to see that the poor woman was in shock that I thanked her, made me think 3, 4 times. So just,
that they are
heart
people.
be
They're
on
not
them.
just turning down people for being arrogant, but they receiving so many offers that they probably sinking in it. Yeah, it's
They
easy to
do.
imagine if you get 100 emails per day, you hardly can
Mm,
go through it. So your letter has seconds
right, right.
interest. Yeah,
So it's tough on them as well. And sometimes you want to think, oh, they're just all mean and horrible, and
yeah,
but it's they're there are people with their own issues as well, and many of them that I have actually had an opportunity to meet at conferences have been very kind and really don't like to say, you know,
Yeah.
sorry.
So it's good to meet them personally in order to see with whom you are dealing with, so you can do this research, because on the website you get a picture, you get a description, but you don't know what this person is currently going through.
Right, right. And another thing, when you do write your query letter, especially if it's somebody that you have met, you mention that first. You know, hello, I met you at da 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 da.
That, yeah, that opens the doors if you
Right.
have a chance to meet them, of course. Oh,
It makes a
they're free
difference.
to live in the country where they are.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, okay, I think for the beginning, because this is our first interview, I kind of wanted to find out where we can go from here and what authors would like to know, writers.
Your sound has cut out. It's
Oh, I'm
Mercury
so sorry.
retrograde.
Yeah. We'll see how it's gonna go. We're still gonna put it out there, and hopefully on my side, because for me, I heard you very well. So the people who are listening, they're gonna hear my questions, so they're gonna hear your voice. You cut out maybe one time, and you quickly were up there. So whoever managed to hear us through, thank you very much for your attention and for bearing with us and through the difficulties of internet today. We're waiting for more questions from you to address specific problems you may encounter as an author. And Ellen will answer them in the next video. And
Mhm.
we can go more specific, because that was very general and that was sharing from what you more or less in generally how your process was looking like, and about the whole writing and publishing. Okay, thank you very much for sharing today as much as
Oh,
possible.
you're most welcome.
Okay, have everyone great day, and looking forward to hearing from you. Bye bye. Bye there.